likely full campus.
But we're glad you made it. That's great. Amanda, are we ready? Are you recording? So, welcome to the second session. So, Master
Turn the light on.
Dr. Brian Merritt will be presenting. I just want to thank you all again for participating. I think it's great. We
way over here, they can't
still
see me.
piloting streaming from this campus to the Harnett and the Pittsburgh campuses. And we are live streaming and recording all the CCCs Live Southwest.
sit where they can see it.
So for those that are at the other campuses, we ask that they hold their comments and questions until Brian asks for them, or at the end. We can hear, the comments that are made on the other sides. We will also post the live stream once it's recorded to the Blackboard site, which is under HR Professional Development. And if you have any comments, questions for additional sessions you would like to see, please let me know. I welcome all comments. I'm going to pass around this professional development sign-in sheet. I just want to get a record of everyone that's on the Lee campus who's attending. And now I will hand it over to Brian.
Hey everybody, how y'all doing?
Great.
I asked for comments. I guess you said how y'all doing. I'm going to sit here while I actually do this, because in a second I'm actually going to start a recording on Adobe Connect as well, because we have a microphone linked to this and I'll have better sound quality. So just to let you all know, we have a couple of our coaches and Tori, our lead coach up here in the front, so I'll let them kind of dance around and do some fun things maybe during the presentation. But for purposes of recording, we want to make sure to have a couple different recordings of it. Since this is having to do with our Title III grant, and we'll be using this recording for purposes of training on campus for more faculty, but also for reporting back to the Department of Ed as well. So just wanted to make sure you all know why I'm just going to be sitting around during this presentation. So what I'm going to do now is actually go into Adobe and actually start recording. So just 1 second to do that. All right, so now we're going to get started. So thanks for coming. What we're going to be doing today, like as Daisha said, I'm Brian Merritt. Over the last 8 or 9 months, we've been engaging in this new Title III project from a grant from the Department of Education that I know most of you have probably heard a lot about and heard too much about sometimes, but we are getting to the point now where we've actually in the spring semester, we conducted a pretty intense pilot, a lot of different initiatives within the Title III account. The purpose of this presentation is titled AVISO Master Training. I'd like us to kind of think about, kind of moving forward. Here's what we've learned, and here are some, ways that moving forward with AVISO and just with academic advising and early intervention practices, how we can, move forward some recommendations for ways that alerts and go out and processes and procedures that we'll take to intervene with students and really help support them and support their success. So we'll have some conversation. We'll also give you some chances to give us recommendations and about some of the things up here. But then use this as kind of a catalyst to spark some conversation for the rest of the summer in preparation for fall, when we really launch full scale a lot of the alerts and different things that are happening with it. So very briefly, because I know a lot of us have heard about Title III and the project goals for the last 9 or 10 months. Basically what we're trying to do is just increase student success, retention, persistence, graduation rates, and doing that with streamlined communication, streamlined advising systems, using technology, and also incorporating some training into that. That's why we're here today, and then there's more training in August, and then throughout this next 5 years, we'll be kind of looking at the different trainings that we're doing to help increase student success. But really, everything we're doing, I just wanted to remind folks that it really goes back to our strategic plan. When we proposed Title III, we were for a year and a half, we looked at data, really looked at here's what the strategic plan says, and here are kind of focus groups. We did focus groups with students, faculty, staff, and looked at where we needed to go in respect to the data that we gathered and also our strategic plan. Especially goal number 1, which is students. That's why we're all here, maximizing student learning, access, and success. And the Student Learning Division, just to kind of give you a quick update, we are actually I think, probably 99% solidified our mission and vision. We've been going back and forth with different ideas. But it's all played off of the strategic plan, maximizing college access and success, using data for informed support, but also, making sure that we use the systems that we have in place and the information that we get, whether it's technology or working with faculty, to use that to have some informed decision making when we, put practices into place regarding, student success initiatives, and basically not just throwing things together and see if they work. We want to, work strategically and slowly to make sure that we, over the next 5 years, really are doing things that are impactful and that are making, a difference. And that's why we've, been as inclusive as we can be to make sure that we are, as we're moving forward, we are, hearing lots of feedback and using our data to be informed during this process. So our College Success Center, really what we're trying to do through the students' first year, through the first year experience program. I don't have a screenshot of it, but the College Success Center actually has a website now. You can actually kind of go in and look at, just the whole gamut of the profiles of the coaches and different things, what we're doing with the extended orientation model. And basically what that means is we're looking at students from the very first time when they come on campus. We actually started our orientation process this week. The orientation is not just a day-long process. It's a year-long process, a semester-long process. We're really looking to work with the students through their very first point of access on campus, but then until the time that they meet their needs, and meet their goals, whether that's a certificate, diploma, or associate's degree. So that's the way that we're approaching orientation now. It's more of an extended orientation with ACA classes included as well. And then with our success coaches and intrusive advising, we're looking for ways to be proactive and early in our intervention as possible. And that's what we're trying to do with Aviso. So that is, briefly kind of concerning Aviso, what the College Success Center is trying to do. We're also, looking to streamline academic advising processes, practices, and support. I know in this first year, as we kind of into Aviso and kind of looking how that's working, there's some different growing pains with that. We recognize that, and we're trying to, be as proactive as possible to, make it as streamlined as possible. But then, also with, Abby Holloman, who's not here, our writing reading center coordinator, who's, we have our academic assistance coordinator, Ms. Talia, and in ways we can enhance our tutoring program as well, and really try to be more tech savvy when it comes to tutoring, training peer tutors, but also doing things, more technology based with a peer tutoring process that is mostly paper based, but we would like to look at ways that we can, make that more tech savvy in the future as well. So we don't have a lot to do. It's a big task, but we are moving forward. It's just one of those things where we are just kind of taking our time, doing as much as we can. In the first couple of years of the grant, because we really have to establish a foundation, a really strong foundation in the first couple of years. But we also want to be as strategic as possible. So why we're doing this is just because we know that for years and years and years we know. And a lot of, if we start talking about it right now, we could probably tell each other the top 5 or 10 reasons why we know students are dropping out. But when you look at just retention research and why students are dropping out, it's really easy to kind of target that data because we looked at it for 30, 40 years. But what we want to do with this project over the next 5 years is really try to create a good quality program and try to really figure out, okay, we know these students are dropping out, but what is the program, what does the quality program look like at CCCC? That will help and target those students who are leaving. How can we really have a positive impact on those students? Because that's where the gap in a lot of the research has been over the past 20, 30, 40 years is how do students, how do we make a difference in the students' lives before they drop out, and how do we figure out who they are before they leave us and never come back? So so that's why we're here talking about Aviso a little bit today, which is going to help us move forward in finding those students who are at risk of dropout as early as possible, proactively engage with them, and then also kind of help us streamline the academic advising process a little bit. So folks are informed from counselors to coaches to faculty advisors to student support staff across the campus. We want to make sure that they are create this network of support across campus. And that's what Aviso can do for us, but like I said, it's just taking time to get there. But that's why we're here today, and I want to present some things to you all, and Tori and Daniel and Dane are here as well, and they can give some feedback as far as our pilot goes, and then also we'd like to kind of hear from some of you who are more involved in the pilot than others. We'd like to hear your feedback as well, and spark some of that conversation. So real quick, before we're going to get into some of the more kind of practical usages of Avizo in a second, just kind of show more of the how early alerts work with each of the alert types and kind of how we envision them working, and hear your feedback from there. But this is, just wanted to throw this out there, this is the current students page. It's at this current students page as it looks right now. So if you go to the CCCC website and actually click on current students, it actually has an Avizo link there now. And we're, as you see a lot of advertisements about the College Success Center and about Title III, you'll see, cccc.edu/connect. So that's the way we've kind of branded our project as far as, here are the things that we're trying to do to get students connected to campus and really get them connected from their very first time on campus. And you'll probably see, we're hoping to see this page kind of transform over the next 5 years to get, more student friendly and help students really understand where to find things and where to go for help. And long term, the system is really looking at a portal system for the website. So that's I think it was scheduled to be here, but I think it's just being piloted by 11 or so colleges. I think this year, next year, long term, that's where we would like to go. But for right now, kind of our portal per se would be the the connect page is what we're looking at with the Avizo. Link is there, and also Blackboard Web Advisor, and Cougar Mail, which has been part of campus for years. When you actually log into Avizo, all you have to do is the students have to do is find this link right here. Eventually, it will be up on the top of the homepage, just like the other buttons are. But for right now, they go to the current students page, find the Avizo link, and who's logged into Avizo so far? I can only see folks on this campus. Who's not logged into Avizo? You're gonna be on campus. Okay, that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. We're still in the pilot. They say we're still in the pilot. So anyone here who is, if you're a faculty member, or actually I think everyone in this room, I can't see who's on the other campuses right now from the angle I'm sitting at, but everyone here should have access to Avizo. So you could actually go in this summer if you wanted and start poking around a little bit and just kind of get used to it. But this is what you see as a faculty person or student support staff member or counselor or faculty advisor. This is kind of the screen that you see when you log in. I believe reports is only there for a handful of us maybe. Although actually, I think reports is actually there for pretty much everyone, but there's only access to certain reports right now. We don't have too many reports built within Avizo yet, but we're getting there this summer. But you should see most of this, if not all of it, when you log into Avizo. I have taken out, this is a screenshot of my Avizo caseload this morning, and I took out pictures and students' names just for confidentiality purposes, because I do want to broadcast those all over the 3 counties and beyond. Right now, this is what you actually see when my caseload in Avizo. You can see that there's one student who hasn't logged in to Spanish 111 in 5 days. So Mr. Urbach here might be able to tell us more about that student. Maybe we should talk a little bit later. And then the same. Actually, this is the same student. I think she has a current grade of 74.3 in her Spanish class this summer. So these are the first 4 students I saw when I logged into Avizo this morning. And I'm going to kind of give a quick snapshot of what that would look like. So this is how coaches, academic advisor, or faculty advisors, counselors who are subscribed to students that we'll talk about in a second can and will be able to see alerts, and also you'll get as a person who uses Avizo, you can daily digest emails, and you can opt to have those daily in your account and which ones you receive.
Laura has a question.
By subscribing to students. So Laura Lover, yes, Laura.
Hey, so when I log in, does it show me by class like Blackboard or my advisees?
Okay, so the question was when she logs in, who does it show her? So right now, we're actually going to get to that in just a second. When you log in right now, actually probably right now when you log in, Laura, you will not see anyone. Because if you've never used it before, you haven't subscribed to anyone, but the way that it's going to start working, and this is on a slide or two next, but we'll just go ahead and say it now. You will actually, should be tomorrow, should be sometime in the next couple weeks, but it should be by tomorrow. Faculty advisors, when you log in, you'll actually see the currently enrolled students who have been here within the past year who are assigned to your caseload within Colleague or DataTel. So that is how it's set up right now. In the future, we are looking at ways we can make sure that it's a quality list of students, because students may have, if they change their major, and that's a manual process in DataTel where your major, but for some reason the advisor wasn't updated for some reason, or maybe they haven't changed their major officially yet, but they've been taking classes in another major. But right now it is actually pretty soon when you log in, you will actually see students who are assigned to you in Colleague or DataTel as your faculty advisor. So think of this as a academic advising support system rather than something specific to your classes you're teaching. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Did she say yes? Okay. I heard murmurings. Okay, so let's see. I think that's all for that screen. Okay, so this is where we wanted to spark some discussion for kind of the rest of the, we'll give you some, kind of more practical ways that we're going to recommend how we use Avizo day to day, from coaching for the coaches to work with academic advisors or faculty advisors and faculty members in academic departments. So basically the way that it works, it's a great segue, Laura. It actually, there's daily alerts for students who are in your caseload. So what that means is that, right now, when coaches log in, they actually see students who are in their assigned caseload. So they see students who are in their academic programs that they've been assigned, because we've gone ahead and pre-assigned those. Some manual, some were in a batch process where we were able just to kind of upload those in large streams, but we manually made sure that those are all accurate. So now what we're doing is soon, faculty advisors' caseloads are going to be determined by Colleague and DataTel. We know that that's not 100% accurate right now, but we'd like to get there. Get there as soon as possible. So there is a way for you as a faculty advisor, if you, let's say you have 30 students in your caseload when you log in as a faculty advisor, but maybe you've only been working with 10 or 20 of those students actively because others are, maybe they've left, or maybe they've changed their major and it hasn't triggered. That's a way for, if you know that there's students who are, you've worked with them, them, maybe they're in your class and they change their major and you see them in Avizo, that's where you could actually follow up with the coach or follow up with the student, or especially let us know so we can provide some intervention, because that's one of those things where, how they're coded is really important as far as, accurately measuring persistence and, graduation and retention rates. Because, unless you go and actually look, you all can log into it. So right now I actually see what students are in your advisees list. I think Steve and I, we talked about this a few weeks ago, right? You can actually see that. So if that's not 100% accurate, for some reason, especially for the smaller programs, then, we can help clean some of that up if we need to. But really, within Avizo, you can actually go in and unsubscribe from those students as, if you're not working with them anymore, if you know that they're, maybe they've, opted to go into the Army or something like that. You can actually go in and unsubscribe, and that doesn't change what's in DataTel. Think of this as your academic advising, module. This is your place to kind of, intervene with your your advisees within your caseload. But then, faculty, counselors, student support staff, anyone can really, subscribe to students, as you, prefer within your role. But really what this is helping us do is create a network from counseling to coaching to faculty advisors to instructors to student support staff, the whole gamut. And we're going to talk about some ways that you can do that. But initial questions about just how Avizo works, the caseload process, subscribing, unsubscribing, that sort of thing. Any initial questions, Janet?
Yeah. Now, are we going to be told? I mean, how are the success coaches distributed? I mean, did they get their caseload by alphabetical order, or is it by program, or what? So who would I know who my success coach is for a particular student? For example, to Lee Early College, I always just tell Virginia Brown that, you know, if a student needs help. But how am I going to find that out?
Yes, so that's where you can.
Brian's going to take you to visit our website. It's now CCCC/success. And on the website, there is a place for you to meet the coaches. And this is written.
There they are. Goodness gracious.
This is written towards the student perspective, but if you click on the Meet the Coaches, it has each of us listed, and it has the programs that we are assigned to. And this is the general basis under which we originally assigned all the students. There may be some changes based on the fact that students change their major, and it may not be called to it's not automatically updated. We have to do that manually once we find out that a student has been changed. So changing the student's success coach is a manual process. And also, if you're on Avizo, you will be able to see on the front page of, on the student profile of Avizo who the particular success coach is.
So here's one example, another great segue. So here's John Carolina 8. He's not a real student. This is a fake account. But so if you actually go with an Avizo, you know, instead of going to the web page, you can actually go into Avizo and see this on the profile. You know, the student's success coach who's advised or who's assigned here. Should be very soon. It's supposed to be tomorrow, but it might be sometime in the next couple of weeks. Very soon, it's going to say success coach and academic advisor and faculty advisor on the profile. We've been putting that off a little longer until we refine some of the data within Avizo. So that's going to appear there as well. So you can actually find their success coach on their profile. Let's see. Any other initial questions about just the caseload process and how that works? Yes, Rob.
Is there anything in place to help ensure parity on the caseload? Just within criminal justice, I'm worried I'm going to have one faculty member maybe with as many as 45 to 60 versus at another site 15.
Okay.
Is there anything to help balance that out?
In terms of faculty caseloads?
Yes.
The way it's pulled in, we'll get it from DataTel, the way that they're assigned. And after that point, if you feel like the caseload is not distributed well, if you email me, I would need the names of the students, but I can reassign on Avizo to reassign the caseloads for the faculty member.
Thank you.
And that's something, I mean, that's something where there is a, success coach who is assigned to criminal justice as well. So, if the balance of advisees is, there, then that's why the coach is here as well, to help support some of that balance as well. So I guess that's sort of a staffing issue within your department, but it's also somewhere where we can address it. So yeah, just let us know. So this is practically like, if you just show you real quick, if you haven't been in Avizo, you go to the profile or you go search for the student, you click on this little button, search outside your caseload, and you can actually subscribe to students who might not be in your caseload. Maybe there's a student in your class that you really want to follow in the future. You could go ahead and subscribe to them as well if you want to take them on as advisee or intervene with them as well. So you can advise or subscribe to folks outside of your caseload if you choose to. But if this wasn't a screenshot, I could also click there and click subscribe and then unsubscribe. So that's that process. So now we're going to get into more kind of practical use of the alerts. So there's a number of alerts. We're going to go through the main ones that are going to be pretty much launched in the fall here. But the first one is class grade alerts. So right now, and this is one of the discussion points I wanted us to kind of stop at for a second, is triggered right now. They're triggered daily with when the class average falls below 80%. And I know we've just looked at we've changed our grading scale at the college, and we've done some piloting this spring with that. So right now, we actually turn the grade alerts on and off, so we will actually be able to turn the grade alerts to come on probably in the second or third week of class. We don't start, they don't do their homework for that very first day, and it falls below 8%. We're not going to start intervening right then and there. But we will actually turn this on at a very early stage in the semester. But class average falls below 80%. What do you all think about that? As far as, because that's how it was originally set up before we changed our grading scale to college. Yes, James?
Can the percentage for different programs be different percentages?
I think what we're going to have to do is, that would be a lot of logic to write. The question was, if you didn't hear, there's different percentages for different classes. That's going to be a very tricky process. I bet there is some crazy code and logic we could write to make that happen, but I think what we're going to have to do is decide on kind of one college-wide for right now, for initially, but down the road possibly, but for right now it's we have looked at different percentages. Oh, actually, that's logging. We've looked at different logging alerts for different, 8, 12, and 16-week semesters. But for grades, I'm not sure that's. I don't know. I'm not sure that's going to be possible initially. Other questions about or
was it
comments?
always at 80 even
was,
before we changed the grade scale?
It was at 80, and then we had talked originally about in a little focus group we had at the beginning of the spring 2013 semester. We talked around 78. There's been a lot of things thrown around. We piloted 80 this semester and see how it went. What do you coaches? What do y'all? I mean, we haven't talked a lot about this. But what do y'all?
Contacting 80 students. Yeah. 82.
Well, below 80, so they'll be falling
Right
into
below, I mean,
they'll be falling into the C category now that we've
Right.
changed our grading scale. So that's we were talking a little bit about this earlier. We just wanted to throw it out there. So we haven't discussed this a lot since we actually changed our grading scale. So
11B seems a bit high to be on alert from my perspective.
yeah. And this is below 8, so it'll be a high
C.
high C. Yeah. So if the class average falls to C plus, then that's when we would contact them right now. But it's just we can do it within a matter of minutes.
This is a class average, not a student.
This is the class average. This is not the GPA. This is, let's say I'm in, Spanish 111 this summer and I'm getting a 75. An alert would come if the class average fell to 75. So
C would be a 70 would be more appropriate under the 10-point scale, excuse me. Or something along those lines. I mean, where you're getting into moving past the average range and below that.
Okay. So Ty said 70 would be more appropriate.
One of the concerns I had is with waiting exactly until 70 was that at certain points in the semester, it may be there are seawalls in a lot of classes, especially for transfer programs now that we're not going to let them graduate with a C. And so if we wait until they're below a 70, it may be a little bit late for us as a team to intervene with them. So I was thinking a compromise at maybe a 75 to say, you're getting near the barrier, how can we help you to make sure that you don't fall below the C level for students, and then anybody who is much lower than getting D level or F level, we have a different response to those students.
What about an auction? Here's 70. Anyone from another campus? I can't see the screen. So is anyone waving or anything?
Well, I think 75 is fine. I think 80 is too high. I do. I think that's high.
Okay.
I'll speak a little bit for distance only. The one thing I remember from some of the previous discussions is similar to what Tori says is there's a fine line, especially at certain parts of the semester, where if we wait to a 75 or a 70, they can't bounce back from that. And so, I almost wonder if we went with like an 80 for the fall just to see, and then the coaches or whoever gets the alerts can kind of make a call based off of what they know of the student or their expectation to maybe decide, do they fully intervene or do they just kind of check in? I don't know. I know with distance that there's sometimes there's a quick way where they can do a quick fall off and they can't recover fast enough.
Frank, and this is just out of curiosity, this number be changed over the course of the semester?
Yeah.
For example, a 70, the first, let's say, month, let's say, argument. And then as you get deeper in the semester, it goes up a little bit.
Yeah, well, actually, that's the first time we've heard that recommendation. We haven't even, that's actually really great. Does it come up with a way for kind of scaffolding and making,
right, use your nice vocabulary on me now. Scaffold away, my friend.
7, or start it off, should we start it off a little lower? Yeah, start it off at 70 earlier in the semester and then move it at 75 at a certain point. Yeah, let's try that in the fall. And see how that works. I think that's a really good approach. Wish we had prizes. I would throw you something.
So it's a surprise, okay?
One thing to also know that sometime in the next version of Aviso, there's going to be a referral link. Aviso releases updates every or so as we give them feedback. Over the summer, we're having bi-weekly conference calls with them, and we're refining different versions and data within the system. So one of the upcoming features that's going to be released probably by tomorrow, but sometime by mid to late June is going to be, I guess it is mid-June, but sometime by the end of June is going to be this link where you can actually go in as a faculty member or as an advisor or someone like that to make a referral to a coach. So instead of waiting, if you see some really, huge red flags at the beginning of the semester, whether you're a faculty member or whether you're working in academic assistance or anything like that, you can actually log into Aviso and make a referral by clicking a link. So that was one of we made the recommendation to Aviso a while back, and they actually had that recommendation from a lot of other schools as well. So that's going to become available soon. Okay, so
Ryan, for training purposes, can that class word go links the individual grade marks? Because when I ask class average, I keep thinking the average of everybody in the class.
Yeah. So
that's, I'm afraid that's
yeah. So for training purposes in August, especially, and moving forward, we'll
when an individual.
Yes, individual, course average or individual average. So it's basically the average of that specific class for the student. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. That does make sense. Okay, so online course attendance alerts. Right now, it's basically Aviso. For those of you who don't know, Aviso works with Blackboard. So students are in online class sections, or actually distance classes. It includes hybrids right now. It is a hybrids and multi-format. So it's set at 5 days right now. We had it at 4 days at one point. We put it up to 5 days. We've been talking about 6, but really 5 seems like it's working pretty well, I think. It's sparked a lot of intervention this past spring, and I think it seemed to work, but really what happens if a student doesn't log in within 5 days on the 6th day right now, the coach or anyone who's subscribed to that student receives an alert. The student gets an email, but if they're not logging in, they're probably not checking their email that often. So this is one of the alerts where a coach will wait maybe a day or so, just to see if that student actually makes contact with him or her as the coach, and if because the student does get the email, if that doesn't happen, then a phone call would be the student. Maybe even go into an on-campus class. I called Tori last semester, kind of tracking students down in other classes, waiting for them outside their classroom, and waiting for them when they're actually supposed to be on campus, and they were there, they just hadn't logged into their online class yet. That happened a couple of times last semester, where we were kind of hovering outside of classrooms, and that seemed to work really well. So what do you think about the Blackboard login date? 5. Right now it's set at 5 days, and get an alert on the 6th day. Janet?
I think the time frame is fine, but one of the things in the Spanish class, Blackboard doesn't tell the whole story. Because they do their homework on another website also. So whenever I check their attendance, I have to check both websites.
Okay.
So just because they're not in Blackboard doesn't mean they're not doing it.
Okay. Right. And that's actually something that we've become aware of, and that's something as we move forward, any class that has those kind of other, my Spanish lab or my math lab or other pieces of software that we're using, that's something that's really important for the coaches to know if we ever start using other softwares. It's just for us to be able to make that determination. If it's a really it's a time of year where they're logging into my Spanish lab, or are they doing it the entire semester?
Yeah, they do, but I only post, the way my Spanish lab is set up, I might post their assignments weekly, but I don't record them into Blackboard until they're finished with the lesson.
Gotcha. Okay. And again, we've said this the whole time as we've been integrating the system is, we know that some alerts are, better than others, at certain times of year. That's why we can, turn some on and off. But for this one, it's one of those things, if you're not logging in and we see the alert come, and then we, maybe we don't make intervention or have intervention with the student there because we know that it's a heavy time of year with my Spanish lab or a time of the semester. Maybe, you know, what happens is the alert is there for 14 days. So the alert stays on the caseload for 14 days, and then it disappears after 14 days. After 14 days, if that happens again, if the student, you know, does not log in again for 5 or 6 days, or however long we set it for the fall, I think it's 5 or 6 is kind of what we're looking at. But then that alert would come back up, you know, again later on in the semester. So, you know, we start seeing patterns, and that could be, you know, one way to approach that. But Kim, was that you? Kim raised her hand about this. What do you think?
For the hybrid classes, in DetNet, we've got a couple of hybrid classes going, and we'll have more this fall, where the students, they are seated, like if it's a 3-day-a-week class, they're seated 2 days and they're online once. And if they say that online class is Friday, and they get in this Friday, and then next Friday, if they don't get in until Saturday, then they're going to be.
So, and we've toyed around. Yeah, we've toyed around. We talked a lot about changing it to, you know, 6 or 7 days, or maybe 7 days.
Even if you have a holiday Monday and they log in on Thursday, it's like.
Yeah, and those kind of things, we, you know, as far as holidays and the end of the semester, that sort of thing, we turn some alerts on and off as far as when it comes to holidays and spring break and that sort of thing. Yeah, Jen?
Could you like make the triggers effective towards different sections? Like on an online section, it would matter more than if it was a seated section.
Yeah, actually, that is what we originally proposed to the VISO, and that is possible. Right now they're set up this way, but we before the fall we can do that. I mean, it's tricky because so many different programs use hybrids and multi-format type things a little differently. But you know, really what it comes down to is when you look at hybrid and, you know, the LM section, you know, I mean, you've got the 50%, you know, kind of rule as far as how they're determined. So I guess we just need to make a, you know, the best judgment as far as we can have LN section, you know, 5 or 6 days, and we can make hybrids 7 or 8 days or something like that. We could look at it that way. Someone taking notes? Before you taking notes?
You're recording it.
Oh, I'm recording it. That means we have to go back and watch. Yeah. Scroll to about what point? We're at 39 minutes. Go with 39 minutes. So yeah, we can look at it, and I think we can do that. We can make that happen before the fall. So 5 or 6 days for online classes, and then 7 to 8.
7 to 8 for web assisted and hybrid, because they're very similar in that kind of login.
Okay.
Ryan, one other question. You mentioned 14 days and it will the alert will go away. Is there if and when another alert comes up on that student, is there an easy way to see multiple alerts, i.e. to go back in their history?
Yeah, that's not one of the features right now, but we actually talked to the VISO about that. It was either last week's conference call or the one right before that, and that's it's actually in their pipeline to make it happen soon. So it's logged in their history, so they could actually export us a spreadsheet. You know, give us that information, but right now it actually, you know, we suggested for it to populate on the notes feature or, you know, somewhere on the profile just to show their past alerts. So, I mean, that just makes sense. Any other questions about online course attendance? All right, and again, referral link is there as far as attendance or, you know, login that you see. All right, this is a fun topic that we can talk about a little bit. On-campus class attendance. This is right now. This is actually not set up in a VISO right now, just obviously because I think WebAttend this summer. It sounds like there's some piloting going on with it. We're, you know, looking forward to, you know, it being refined and hopefully, you know, more streamlined with the roster process in the future. But right now, VISO's default is that if a student is not attending on-campus class or has not been there for three absences, and actually just 3 cumulative absences is reached, the student will actually have an attendance alert sent the next day. So whenever that attendance data is then put it into WebAttend, then after 3 absences, the alert will come. The student gets the alert, obviously, and then the coach, you know, this would be one where we have via phone right here. We could, you know, also coach may reach out via email. But really the student gets the email alert as well already. So this is one where really a phone call is going to be one of the probably the primary way to reach out. So, on-campus class attendance. What are you in the default for Visa is 3 for a 3 credit hour above class. Their default for a 2 credit or 1 credit hour class is 2 absences, I believe it was. But really we can set it however we want moving forward. So Scott and then check in.
Can we look at some way of triggering it by hour, contact hour, as opposed to that? Because I have a class that meets once a week. We get to the 3rd absence, it was 3 weeks of class, as opposed to just 8 weeks of class.
Yeah, we can, and we actually had that in our, when we submitted a configuration guide to Aviso. I think you were in on that focus group when we kind of talked through this back in early spring. We made that recommendation. It can happen, just since we're so early in the WebAttend process. We haven't piloted this yet, so we can make that happen. It's going to be a little tricky, but we can. Again, this is their default. So, but yeah, for like an LOA section at night, I think it would make more sense to have it.
Well, again, you could trigger it by number of contact hours that was that week.
Yeah.
That were, if it's supposed to be a LOA, it's supposed to be 3 hours.
3 hours.
I mean, you'd really want to alert them, really, at that point, if they missed a significant amount of time for that class.
Yep.
Now, it could have been a very legitimate reason, but if you wait till 3 weeks in, they missed 9 hours of instruction.
Yep, it's true. Other campuses? Anyone on the
I've got a question about WebAttend. So
I can try to answer.
WebAttend. Oh, okay. So WebAttend will be required attendance software. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And when will that training occur?
So so this is in August on August 12th and 14th is the initial training that we're doing right before the semester starts, but then there will be training at the beginning of the fall as well. The ones that we do on the 12th and 14th will be recorded, and then over the summer we're looking to and I can't speak for the registrar's office or student services as far as like the actual WebAttend process, because I'm kind of an amateur when it comes to actually the behind the scenes stuff of how WebAttend works. But I know that WebAttend is not a perfect system right now as it exists. So what we're trying to do is actually make sure that we are able to put together a quality training, and I think that should be able to happen definitely before August 12th and 14th, but hopefully this summer we'll be able to have some resources available before then to some more, I think at the beginning of this summer there was a sheet sent out. I think it was just an instruction sheet that was sent via email. So it was pretty self-explanatory, but there's still, I guess to the average user, sometimes there's still a lot of questions about how and when and you enter that information in. So yeah, it's.
And so this goes back to the Aviso training. We had a lot of 85 people sign up for the Aviso training, and it's not just Aviso training that those 2 days. It's all technology. So when we're talking about WebAttend, we're going to be using those 2 days. Those are the same 2 days that faculty who signed up for Aviso training will also get WebAttend training, and they'll also be trained on different technologies that we can use for DE or for course recording. So that we tried to encompass it in that 1 day to get as much participation so that everybody can have time to vet questions and work through it. And those 9-month faculty will also be paid. If 12-month faculty who also want to attend are welcome to attend, we can add you, but we're not able to pay because of the contractual issue.
All right, one other thing I'll mention, the attendance alerts, they benefit from a sliding scale as well, perhaps. Once you get into your latter weeks, 3 absences, in my experience, necessarily dictate a poor grade.
Yeah, that's a good point. At the end of the spring semester, we turned off attendance alerts, and we actually have admin rights to go in. We don't right now. We can tell Aviso right now we'll turn them on and off, but we can go in there and turn them off at a certain point in the semester. So we know attendance alerts are really early, is early in the semester up until right towards the end. So those last 2 or 3 weeks, we're able to turn them on and off. Other questions about on-campus class attendance alerts?
I have a question for Tori.
You have Tyson consulting.
There's someone who's on it.
Okay.
I think it was on the Harnett. Do you have a question?
Yes, Tori, are we going to be able to get all of the training that you talked about in one day?
Yes, we have it scheduled so that they're scheduled in different blocks of time throughout that one day that we can all fit it in.
And we will be recording the trainings on that day as well, so we'll make sure to, there are 85 or so faculty members signed up for that training that day. And then we actually have grant dollars to do more training in year 2 of the grant after October 1st, so we could do more after that as far as official training. But all of the training that we do is going to be recorded as well, so we can make it available. So.
We put that on the professional development.
And Daisha would like to put that on the professional development site, so that's exactly where we want to go. All right. Any other questions about attendance alerts? Okay.
So the adjunct training, so will department chairs handle adjunct training in these technologies? Or lead instructors?
How are we going to deal with adjunct training?
So adjunct training.
We're going to address that at adjunct training. Yes.
Okay, so there's adjunct training night. I know I talked to Mark a little bit. I know the adjunct training committee has met, so we'll be addressed that night during adjunct training night. Any other questions from other campuses?
If a student had an emergency and contacted the instructor and they're absent, but we used to put AC, absence with contact, will that still be available on the WebAttend so that they will not be double, the student has called and said they had a funeral, whatever, they're not going to be bothered by a success coach for 3 absences if they've contacted their instructor?
Is anyone who's used WebAttend so far?
There's not an AC there.
Okay, so someone who's used WebAttend this summer says there's not an AC. What we'll do is we'll make a note of that question and actually, who asked the question?
That was Sue.
Sue, okay. We will, actually make a note and, also make the registrar aware of that question as well, so we can try to figure out a way that we can make the alerts. Actually, what you can do is the referral link is going to be there on Aviso as well. So if you know that there is an absence with contact and maybe that does trigger the 3rd alert or another alert for a student. If you would like, you could actually log into Aviso and just call the success coach. But you can go into Aviso and actually just click the link to let the coach know that this has happened. That actually death in the family, those kind of things, those present issues for students throughout the semester as well. Issues at home, those kind of things make a difference when a student actually if they can finish the semester. So. That would be a really good, contact to make with the coach. If you log into Aviso, you can see who their coach is, and just let us know. Okay. Any other questions? Shake your head. All right. Okay. So next we're going to look at student is not registered alerts. So this is an alert that is actually that Tori and just the staff, we can actually look at certain strategic times during the academic year and release these alerts. We piloted it a little bit the past month and a half, just to see how it would go. But basically what it is it's, alert just tells us upcoming term during the peak registration advising periods if a student is not registered for the next term. So the student will get a message just to, remind them about the advising process, coming to, with their faculty advisor or, come into the College Success Center to do some pre-advising or doing some things to plan for their upcoming semesters. But we will, the coaches will actually support the advising and registration process at certain times to make sure that we are, encouraging students to register early for upcoming terms. So over the last couple of weeks, we have actually, like I said, about a week or so after the semester ended, in the spring 2013 semester, I can't remember the exact date we started making calls, but what we did is we looked after graduation, after faculty advisors left for the summer, after it was April or May 15th period, we tracked retention. We have a report in Informer that comes out of Colleague that kind of shows us retention day to day now. So we tracked the retention rate, for about 2 weeks there, I think it was. And we saw retention going up, 1/10 of a point, 2/10. There were some days it was like 3/4, or 3/10 of a point. The retention rate was just slowly going up. So it went up about 1 or 2 points in those couple of weeks we were tracking it. So we just wanted to kind of see what would happen at the end of the semester. And then what we did is we manually, we actually went in, we pulled a spreadsheet out of Informer. Here's all the students who are enrolled in spring. And we took out all the graduates, we took out all the early college students, high school students, and it was a more manual process because we're still refining the system. We actually batched that back into Aviso and just released alerts because we're going to have the actually not registered alert working properly here at the end of the summer. But we want to just kind of pilot this. And what we did is we started off at, here's the updates that we started sending out probably in end of April. May 2nd, when we left right before the end of the spring, we had 1,143 students who were registered from spring, and they were already registered for fall. So we were at about 30% retention when we left the spring semester. May 13th, this was right around, right at the end of the semester, right before, 9-month faculty left for summer. We were at 33% retention. And then, like I said, right after that date, we waited a couple weeks, kind of started, just looking at the retention rate. And then what happened is we actually released those registration alerts. Coaches started making calls. I know there was a lot of coach, faculty interaction or department chair interaction. I know that we did as much as we could to make sure to let people know we were doing this. But then what happened is, as of June 11th, this is the update that Sue put on the intranet, it went up to 44% within a little less than 3 weeks. This proactive, intrusive advising process that we've been talking about for so long now, we were really waiting for this period just to kind of see how it would work. It was one of those things where every day it was a little taxing on the coaches. They were calls. They were it was felt like telemarketers some days, but it was very interactive. Very they're shaking their heads. Yes. It was but it was truly before June 3rd came when students started registering. We wanted to make sure that students had a chance to really consider their options for the fall. And every interaction that a coach had, as far as if the student actually registered in WebAdvisor, there's a plan in Aviso for hopefully all of those students that were in Aviso that we actually interaction with. But it worked. It shows right here that it's showing to us that this proactive approach that we're taking is starting to work, and we want to work with you all and hear your feedback now about kind of looking forward how we should approach this and have the coaches supporting the registration advising process. Billy, you're up here on the screen. Hope that's okay. I don't know if you see your quote. Okay, never mind. You're not on the screen. Never mind. You can't even see it. So, what do y'all think about this process, or ways that the coaches can, for future, support the faculty advising process? We talked about intrusive, proactive advising for months now. So, who's that?
Laura?
Is it Laura?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we've done for the past 2 years is gone through our advisee lists and through WebAdvisor. And so it's a very clunky process. So this sounds more elegant. The WebAdvisor is hard to maneuver because there are students who may have graduated and moved on. So we do it by hand, like you said. And we reach out and we contact them after the end of the spring semester. So we did that this year because we didn't know this was happening. So, and I think other departments do some of this work as well. And then I just got a list from ROM, which was really helpful, of students who still have not registered. So I in turn called each of them. So I'm glad, I guess my feedback is I'm glad you're doing this. One of the challenges I think is the